Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for the Action Builder demo. Today, we're going to talk about what is Action Builder. We'll go through some Action Builder core features. I'll walk through a live demo and answer any questions that might come up. And then we'll talk about some next steps. So again, thanks so much for joining us. My name is Jen D'Agostino. I work on the impact team here at Action Builder Action Network. Please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. You will not be able to unmute yourself, but feel free to pop any questions in there that you have as this goes along. And we will get started. So the first thing about Action Builder that you should understand is that we have no profit motive. So unlike some other tools that are built for the movement, sorry about that, our primary motivation is really building progressive power and building sustainable progressive power in the movement. And so we're not about making money for shareholders. We're really about creating something that is sustainable long term for our partner organizations who use it. We also develop our tools cooperatively. So the real goal is to center organizers, organizations, the work that's happening on the ground as we figure out what needs to be improved on, what needs to be built next. So we have regular partner development meetings with our cooperative development partners from the AFL-CIO, People's Action, the CLC in Canada, to help us figure out our vision for the next development phase. And actually, a lot of the folks who are on staff, like me, used to be organizers. Some of us used Action Network and Action Builder, and we stay in constant contact with our partners. Our goal, like I mentioned, is to build sustainable power. So it's not just about how can we get the fastest responses for the fastest turnover for this particular election, but really how are we building a ladder of engagement so that you can capture information about the people in your universe for long-term development. How are you promoting people within your universe to take more responsibility? And really, how are you accounting for the fact that staff may come and go, leaders may move in and out? So what consistency can you build across your campaigns? The other thing that I find super cool about Action Builder is our power mapping features. And so the goal is not just a simple flat spreadsheet, but you can actually map deep relationships, connecting people to other people, organizations, job sites, community groups, and more. So you can keep track of where your folks are, who they know, how those relationships develop, who is a natural leader, and how can you develop them within your campaign, and how can you recruit people who are potential leaders that you see developing based on those connections. You'll hear me say this a lot over the next half hour, but this is one of my favorite things about Action Builder. So some core features, and hello again, if you popped in a little bit late, feel free to ask any questions in the chat as we go along. We're going to talk about our mobile first design. So there is not a separate app, but all of our features in Action Builder are mobile friendly. So you can open them on a phone or another mobile device. We've built it based on the old school wall chart so you can see your universe at a quick glance. We have filters so you can easily pull lists and cut your lists based on information you need to know. You can upload data in bulk and you can export it if you need to have it in another database or that you're working with, or if you need a spreadsheet for some reason. You can track information from the field and you can create easy to follow tasks that you can then assign to your activists to enter themselves so that your organizers are not spending time at the end of the day doing data entry, but they can do things like have one-on-one conversations themselves or debrief one-on-ones that are happening. So what I'm going to do now is switch over to our live demo. This example that we're going to do is a worker database, but it can also be used for community organizing, for fundraising, for lobbying tracking. There's a lot of flexibility with Action Builder. But in these examples, these are workers, just as the example that I have pulled up. So when you first log in, again, you can see this wall chart. This is at a glance, everyone in your universe. You can see these assessment values that are color coded on the left-hand side. You can see these folks who haven't been assessed yet. You can set follow-ups that need to be had, so you can flag people for quick follow-up. One of the cool things about these assessments is if I click on the assessment tab, I can create a different type of assessment meaning for each of those numbers based on the different types of entities that I want to track. So by default, Action Builder tracks people, and we track it really well. But you can also track things like organizations, um, employers, work sites, that sort of thing. So if you're tracking, for example, coalition building effort for organizations, you may have the labels of partners, friendly organization, neutral, unfriendly, and opposition. But for people, you might have activist, supporter, undecided, anti, opposition. So the colors are the same and the numbers are the same, but you can change the label and the description based on the types of entities that you are collecting, which is very cool. You can also set these spotlights. So in this particular case, the people have a green little light if they are a member, but you can set it up based on any response to your custom fields. Question, can we modify the number of assessment levels? Yes, you can. So when you first get an Action Builder account, it has, I think, two, just one, two, and then unassessed. You can create as many as you want. Once you create an assessment level, it cannot be deleted. So we encourage folks to kind of think through what you want your assessment model to be, but you can structure it for whatever makes the most sense for your organization. The most common is 1 through 4 or 1 through 5. Some folks use 1 through 3. I've seen up to 7. So really, it's just a matter of what works best for your organization's model. And then just make sure that you really want that many before you create it, because it can't be deleted. As I mentioned, it is mobile optimized. So this is our desktop view, but if I shrink my browser so that it thinks that I'm on a phone or a tablet, I can still see the same people, and that filter bar that was over on the right-hand side has now moved to this button on the bottom. And I can still filter lists, which I'll talk about in just a minute, and I can see records and I can see that information on the wall chart. What's great about this as well is that you have this little drop-down caret. You can set, we call these top lines, and so you can set the most important pieces of information at the top of a person's record, and you can have their contact information right here. If it's blue, it means that they have it. If it's gray, it means they don't. So this person has all four pieces of information: an email address, a phone number you can call, a phone number you can text, and an address. And what's very cool is that if you are on a mobile device, you still have these icons. If you click on it, it will open that app on your phone. So you can open text, open send an email, open call, or open find their address on a map. And it's all stored right there in Action Builder. When you click on the person's name, you're taken to their full record. And so you can see multiple pieces of contact information. You can track the languages that they speak, the languages they prefer to speak. We have a sync with Action Network. So if you're already using Action Network, you can sync mobile numbers and email addresses so that you can track your subscribers and contact them that way. The activity feed is a history of everything that was done on this person's record, which is very cool because if you have multiple organizers who are out in the field having conversations, or if you have office staff versus field organizers versus a steward in the building, you can see who was the last person to talk to them and what did they talk about. You can track conversations. You can track information about any custom fields that you want to create. So here, for example, they said they would vote yes on a pledge, and so you can track that information. And then you can also track relationships. So this person has a relationship, they're neighbors, and you can add notes and other information about that relationship. And so every single entity, whether it's a person or an organization, if I run this query, you can see there's organizations. You can track notes, custom fields, and info responses, as well as any types of connections that you set up. And then you can click through to see those people. So it's all responsive and natural in terms of clicking through those relationships to kind of understand your data. On the wall chart here, I'm going to reset this. One of the things you can do is you can create default views. So for example, if I want to use this filter bar here to search for people who are members, I'm going to run the query. And so there's 80-some people in my universe, but only 45 of them are members. If I want that to be the first thing that my organizers and activists see, one of the things I can do is save this query, save it as members only, share it with other users, and set it as the default query. So now when I come into Action Builder, just the members will be the first thing that loads instead of everyone. You can also save and load any type of query that you use on the right-hand side here. So you can see, I want to search for just the folks who are unassessed, or I want to search for members who work at a specific place. I can do that and search for that list and run the query. Let me refresh my page here. Great. Yep. So these saved queries are designed to save you a lot of time. You can share information between users who are using Action Builder. The other thing, like I mentioned, you can flag folks for follow-up. And here you can search for people that you have flagged yourself, that have been assigned to you, or that you have flagged, or that anyone has flagged. So you can see all of the follow-ups that are left in the organization. And then you can see the details right there. So really it is designed to kind of keep your work flowing, and share information, not just in someone's head, not just in a notebook that they're carrying around with them, but in a place where people can share in between. Did you have a question about language? Can you say more about what that question is? Got it. Okay. Um, so uh, here on a person's profile, you can update languages. And then if you have any questions that we're not able to get to here during the demo, you can contact us at support@actionbuilder.org. Um, Other things as a lead organizer or as a manager of a campaign, you have this activity stream where you can see everything that has happened in the campaign by any user and for any activist. So you can really get a sense of what's going on in your campaign, what assessments have been changed, what notes have been added, who's downloading information. You can create tasks. Let's see. You can create tasks that make assignments with a list of to-dos of things that you want people to do, and a script, and then you can assign turf. So let's say this phone bank has 5 turfs, and then they'll get an email notification that says, these are the people that you need to talk to, and they can work their way down the list with their specific assignments. So maybe you have activists that are like right at the edge, not quite ready to be a member of your organizing committee, but who you want to take on more leadership. You can give them specific assignments where they can have a script, they can have their list of folks to talk to, but they can't see your whole database or download your whole database, but they can enter the information for the folks that they're contacting. Other things, the newest feature in Action Builder are our events. It looks like this campaign doesn't have any, so let's create a brand new one. And you can decide whether it's in person or it's virtual. And you can auto create assignments for making invitations, confirming attendees, and marking attendance after the event has happened. Um, and so it will automatically create sample tasks for you to do um, related to that event, which is pretty cool. Other things that you can do in Action Builder is that you can customize your campaigns. So one of the things that I find very cool is here on the info tab, you can turn on fields for some campaigns, but not for others. So if you're running campaigns that are collecting different pieces of information, maybe one is about housing, maybe one is about fair pay. You can ask different questions in different campaigns. For events, can you embed a list of all upcoming events in your organization's website? So the events tool here in Action Builder is an internal turnout tool for your organizers. There's not a way for people to automatically self RSVP. That is something that happens on the Action Network side of things, in which case you can embed an event in your website. And we have a sync between the tools, between the two tools. So Action Network is more mobilization, where people can find a list of things, self RSVP, find out more information. Action Builder is more of an organizing tool where your organizers can keep track of one-on-one in-person and phone conversations that they've had. And then we have a sync where you can see here, where you can map responses in Action Network to Action Builder and vice versa. So it's a great question, and our team is working on a more robust sync between the two for events specifically. So, great questions. Um, there are so many things that we can show you in Action Network or in Action Builder. I would encourage you to join our Action Builder training series. And I will add this link here in the chat. We have our Getting Started with Action Builder, which is the first Thursday of the month. And then the second Thursday, which is a couple days from now, we'll be talking about tasks and events, and then getting data into Action Builder and how to integrate Action Builder and Action Network. So there's an hour each on each of those different topics. If you would like to learn more, if you have any questions, I'm happy to take some time to answer them here. Otherwise, I could just keep talking, but would rather talk about things that you're interested in learning about. And then I would like to share here before I go. If you're not a partner yet and are interested in learning more or becoming one, you can contact our partnerships team at join@actionbuilder.org. Um, they're great. They can help answer questions about what makes sense, what size makes sense for your organization. If you are an AFL-CIO affiliate, reach out to your folks at the AFL-CIO and they can get you started and get you onboarded. And we are happy to help again at the support email if you have technical questions about how features work. And you can join us at any of our longer trainings if you'd like to really dive into the nitty-gritty details of it all. Any other questions from folks? Great. What languages is Action Builder available in? So currently Action Builder is available in English. Um, I know that our team is working with the folks at the CLC and has been talking about a French one, but I don't believe that there's a timeline on that yet. You can create custom info fields in any language that you want, but the structural language is English for right now. Great question. Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us. I hope you have a happy new year and good luck kicking off your campaigns for the year. And hopefully we will see you at one of our future trainings.